And once again, we are live. I'm at the crib, about to get me something to eat. Need to get something quick so I can jump on here and talk my ish. But we're gonna talk about something just real simple and easy, man. Like basically what the title says. Like what do you basically focus on? You know, renting, buying. We're gonna talk about housing because there are some people who actually want to buy a house. There are some people that actually want to rent a house. Like, what will be the best option for you? That's what we're dealing with right now. So I know it's gonna be a lot of people live, probably talking, and the money, the drip, the team, the whatever. It's all sound good and dandy, but just gonna be keeping it simple. Basically what's gonna be the people's interests. Have you ever thought about buying a house? You weighed your options before? Like, what is going to be your option when you go to buy a house? What are the steps? What are the keys that you take to actually start this process? You know, the do's and the don'ts. No, I'm actually going to have someone come on, uh, and they're going to be talking. Special guests, I can say, that's going to actually come up, and we're going to have the conversation. Microwave in the background, but we're going to have the conversation, and then we're gonna actually open up the panel, have some people come up and give their intake on how they see things going and how they see situations at hand. Basically, just opening up. So as it stands, like I'm saying, when it come down to it, do's and don'ts. What are gonna be your options? And purchasing, buying, whatever. Ultimately, the biggest goal is for you to be happy with your purchase and overall what is going to be the profits for you in having this house. A lot of people, make mistakes, not consulting with people, knowing who they're dealing with when they're getting houses. You know, they just want to buy a house. No research, no one sitting down, telling do's and don'ts, not even just with them not researching for themselves to try to get a better option, you know. And there are good options out there, but the point of it is you only find good options when you look for them, you know. And that's like one of the biggest faults in a lot of people when, doing things. Let's say you want to go buy a car. Best options in buying a car. You don't know. So how do you do it? You research. Same thing with buying a house. A lot of people yell location, a lot of people yell prices. You know, when it come down to it, there's a lot of people who argue down, you know, the monthly payments on a car versus arguing down the price. Because if you get the price down, you can actually get the more the monthly payments down a good deal. So rule of thumb, like I said, when it come down to it, we're gonna have the conversation, try to get some things hashed out because like I said, in this generation there's a lot of people who actually really just don't know stuff. And it's sad because we're in the age of technology where anything you want to know, whether it be true or false, is on the internet. It's up to you to decipher the information, actually, find out what's true, what's false, and assess make your own opinions, assess whatever you want to do. So, rule of thumb, if you're in the process of buying a house, talk to people who own homes. I mean, that's like the biggest thing right there. That's where you start first, first and foremost. And going into the second thing, research. That's like one of the things. Do your research. What kind of house do you want? What do you really want to buy? Oh man, I hit the mute button. But it's like, are you looking at getting a house because you're tired of renting? Are you looking at getting a house because you explore certain options and you see this is one of the best things that down the line suit your needs? So like basically a lot of people got to understand like what are their dire needs for a house? Like what are their interests? What are their faults? Like how is getting a house going to actually benefit you long term? You know. Then we're going to go into like different steps in, you know, talking amongst the numbers. Can you afford a house? A lot of people want a house but can't afford a house. There are a lot of people who rent and can't even afford renting. The better option for them is to actually buy and try to get rid of some of these myths about buying houses, some of these facts that actually come out about the houses that you're trying to get. So I'm going to try to go into a lot of that, because at the end of the day, like I try to get people to understand on my channel, is mainly about generational wealth and trying to bridge the gap. Mostly dealing with families because the lone wolf doesn't run the market, but the pack, they can run things. It's it's bigger in numbers, man. When it come down to it, the numbers don't lie. You know, and the biggest thing is a lot of people have an understanding. Renting might be your only option if you don't have the credit. They have programs, lease to purchase type deals. You can go into different programs where they'll buy the house for you. They'll lease it to you for like a year or two, then take the money that you've been paying on the house, put it towards the down payment. There's all types of different programs involved, down payment assistance programs. There's all types of programs to help you with buying. But if buying is just isn't your thing, like could renting be an option for you? Rent a house, a couple of years, you don't have to worry about certain things as far as payments and stuff. That could be the key. So um I actually need to log in on my computer because I can share screens and stuff like that. Because I'm actually on my phone, just pulled up to the house and let me contact this guy, see what's going on. But hold on right quick. Let me text this guy. Yeah, but like I said, when it come down to it, you're gonna have options and stuff with buying. So what is gonna be the options that benefit you in buying? I could just use my computer just for sharing screens and stuff, but like what's gonna be your options in buying? What's gonna be the benefits, of you buying versus renting? And that's the whole thing because, you know, thing is a lot of people just don't know. And knowing is like the old saying is half the battle. So knowing your options, knowing what you want to do versus buying and renting, like how's it going to benefit you? Yeah, so when it come down to it, like the biggest thing getting into, what do you want to do? That's why I'm actually have a guy that I'm trying to pull up. He's a real estate agent, so we can have, a conversation. I'm waiting on him to actually pull up now. But you're making some good points. Let's see, set this laptop, set this computer up. But yeah, when it comes down to it, from my standpoint, buying is a good thing, but everybody's not going to be qualified to buy. So you're going to have a lot of renters, and that's going to be the option going in as far as the process on renting. Like if that's the only option that you have, then so be it. But the point is renting. with a purpose. And that's my whole thing that I'm trying to get people to understand. Renting with a purpose, how's it gonna affect, long term, short term, goals. Let's see. Yeah, I actually should have planned this whole thing a little bit more better because I'm kind of waiting on my guest to come in, but also just running around. But basically, like I said, different options in the game. What's what's gonna be a what's gonna be your moneymaker? You know, is renting gonna have a long term great effect on you, or is it gonna be the short term? Far as the process proceeding itself, dealing with, let's see, login. I see right now, email. Man, this guy still ain't showed up. Hey man, I'm gonna have to put an APP out on this guy. All right, say 2 seconds. Yeah. So, the biggest thing about buying a house All right, there we go. Can you turn the speaker off? All right, there we go. Yeah, I'm trying to set this up. So when my guests come in, I have everything situated. We want to screen share. But when it comes down to it, man, that's the biggest thing. What did I just do? Did I knock the other one off? All right. Yeah. Hey, man. Learning, getting it together, man. Getting it together. Getting it together. All right. So basically, can you guys hear me? Okay, cool. What's going on? Basically, when it comes down to it, tricks of the trade. What are you actually learning? What are you dealing with? And that's going to pose the biggest question with a lot of people that's, wanting to buy a house. Okay, you can hear me. All right, put that over there. We good. Like buying a house, what questions are people having? The biggest thing about buying a house is like, for the most part, how things are gonna be seen, far as what are you gonna be dealing with in the purchasing. You know, where we at? That's one of the good ones. Actually getting your credit together. You know, buying versus renting. You know, is needed to actually rent, but buying is even more greater because the fact of the matter is when you're buying that house, they're looking at the long term goals. So they're looking at how steady your credit is. They're going to be a little more thorough than just looking at your credit. They're going to look at background. Any credit cards, long term, any outstanding debt. Because that's gonna be like a major factor in you paying off that house. On in nowadays, average people are not staying in these houses paying them off 20, 30 years. You know, that's like the biggest thing to look at. Yeah, your debt to income ratio, because that's like, pick a time, snooze. All right, there we go. All right, so that's gonna be like your biggest thing, because a lot of people are not staying in these houses like back in the day. Back in the day, they were staying in these houses 20, 30 years, and now, what are a lot of people doing now? A lot of people coming into the house, staying into the community a couple of years, and then leaving. The younger generation of kids, their whole thing now is, you know, what's that? What they call it? NOLO. And that's their biggest thing. Yeah. Mm, I might go on and drop the link on Wayne on this guy to come up. All right, I'm just gonna share some stuff meanwhile while it's not here to kind of get the talk started about a lot of different things about buying and renting as well. You know, and kind of throw up a lot of the description I had about the thumbnail. You know, okay, this computer's lagging a little bit. Okay, uh, there's somebody in here. All right. Now I'm asking them, do you if you want to keep your camera on, that's you, and if not, I can let you up. But it's on you if you want to keep your camera on. Don't matter. All right. Can you hear me?
I can.
All right. How's it going now? You
I'm
want to
okay. How
introduce the
about
people?
yourself?
All right. You good now? You want to introduce the people? Yeah. Let me drop you in as the main solo layout. All right. There we go. There. I'm actually working from the phone and the camera, so
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, you want to introduce the people, who
Uh,
you are.
I can. So my name is Ramon Williams. I'm a real estate agent in the Atlanta area. Been in real estate almost 10 years now. Seen it ups and downs, and yeah, I can say that experience plays a big role on how I'm able to help my client.
Okay. Yeah, because basically, like I said, my channel is pretty much about a lot going on far as in the community, far as generational wealth, getting people to having an understanding of investing, proceedings on how they want to actually lay out certain things. So let's go back. Boom, boom. All right, we'll just keep it at that. Boom. All right. So basically, like I said, the rule of thumb is we're talking about today about renting versus buying. So far as you being a real estate agent, you know, let's start off with renting. Do's and don'ts. Different proceedings on renting and how's that affecting you, helping you, hurting you. Because when it comes down to it, some people just don't have the money, or some people just don't have the desire to actually buy. Most people have the desire to actually rent and you know proceeding about owning something. They rather just go ahead and rent for a couple of years, and it'd be more beneficial for them that way.
Mm-hmm. Uh, well, my suggestion, those same people that say buying is a bad idea are the same people that'll buy a car. They won't rent a car because when you you rent a car every month, $600 a month. When it's done, it's done. With buying a car, you have a set time, then it's yours, and then you can sell it. So kind of the same, I would feel. Um, we're renting, especially right now in this market. The average rent is about 1,500, anywhere from 12 to 1,500 in the Atlanta area. Now you can every now and then catch something, maybe 12, maybe 11, but it's it's a lot of competition on those. So it's like a lot of fish in a pond when you under 1,500. And if you take that same 1,500 and look at it on the buying aspect, a $1,500 mortgage is about, say, maybe right now, given interest rates, I'm just a rough estimate, between 220 to 240. So it, now I do understand with buying, of course, you need that down payment, which I understand a lot of people have problems getting that together, as well as credit. But I always say, if your credit is there and the funds are there, why not buy? Um, versus rent. I hope I
Okay.
ain't straight too far off on that.
No, good. This is direct. All right. So basically, when it come down to it, I guess we're gonna go into the buying aspect. So, what are typically like the qualifications on buying? Let's say, you know, yeah, let's just start off with that. Job. I know the rundown, the job, credit. Let's just go from there.
Got you. I say the three things: job, money, credit. You need all three of those things. If you take away the job, you need more money. If you take away the credit, you need more money. So job, money, credit, the three things. As far as credit score wise, right now you need around a 620. They say FHA is say 580. However, you skating on thin ice. You can bet you can't have no hiccups because it'll knock you out of position for your loan. I would say at least a 620. Um, so 620, and depending on your loan type, you have a few different loans. That the most popular loan that a lot of people use is FHA. FHA is 3.5% down. I know a lot of people think that down payment is, I need 20% down, 10% down. That's not true. FHA is a federal backed loan, and all Americans qualify for 3.5% down. However, you must live in a home. You can't buy a rental property with this home. You can't buy investment properties with a FHA loan. You have to live in a home. Now it get a little more technical, because let's say you see a home you like and it's being leased out to someone, and let's say what is September now, and they lease don't end to December. FHA will not let you purchase that home until they lease end, because you can't purchase that home until that tenant is gone, because they want you to live in a home, and they have a lot of different things in place so you won't lose your home when you go FHA. You always forbearances, a lot of things. FHA wants you to be in a home and live in it. Um, now uh, another one of their requirements is the home has to be ready to live in. It can't have any busted windows. It has to be safe. Safety is the main thing when it comes down to the home inspection. So FHA want the home to be safe and livable. They don't want you to move into that home and say, "Oh, I got to put 20,000 in it, 10,000 in it. Oh, I don't want to do this no more." They don't want that to happen. So they won't approve the home unless it's a certain standard. So when you online, if you see a lot of homes online, and you might see, it might say cash or conventional, that mean that the owner is not, the seller is not trying to do any work to the home, so it will go FHA. So that's one thing to look at. So that's FHA. You also have something called VA, which all veterans reap that benefit. It's zero down. You also have something called USDA. That's zero down for rural areas that's considered rural by population. So when most rural areas in Atlanta area, well, outside of Atlanta area, is like maybe 20 minutes outside of 285. That's when you start to run into areas that's considered rural. Like if you're on 20 minutes past 285. So those areas are considered rural USDA, and you get that zero down. Um, so that's mainly the top three for people that's trying to purchase a home for themselves, not on the investment side.
So what about investors? Like, say where they were to come to you about buying a house, what's the process on that?
So with investors, it depends now. It all depends on their capital, your capital. So one thing that a lot of investors use, they use something called hard money. Hard money is normally 20% down. And so let's say $100,000 home, 20% of 100K is 20K. So part of that, you must own a business. You have to buy it in your business name. And when you're using hard money, they're not too concerned about your income like a regular loan, like a regular mortgage that you're going to get to live in for yourself, FHA, VA, or regular conventional. They want to know how your income looks. When you go hard money on the investor side, they know the income is coming from the property from being rented out. So you buy that home for 100K, you do a little work if need to be work done on it, and then that rental income is what's going to pay your loan back. So that's one of the different things other than cash. You can always go cash. You really, you can always do a deal investment with cash, but hard money is what a lot of people use. It allow you to accumulate a lot of properties, with a certain amount of money. Let's say you have 100K and you want to jump into real estate. You can take that whole 100K and buy one property, or you can break it down to 20%. So that's five. You can buy five properties with that same 100K using hard money, which will mean more rental income.
Okay. All right. So let's say with me trying to get a house, and a lot of people they always have this notion of buying a house is gonna be a headache because if the roof goes out, let's say I buy a house, not even a new build.
Hmm.
Okay, let's do the vice versa. Let's start off with the older houses. Been there 15 years. Roof never been replaced. Um, don't come with a refrigerator. Let's say it don't come with a refrigerator. You got to get a refrigerator. What's gonna protect me in that notion versus me just saying I can rent and don't have to worry about none of this stuff?
Gotcha. Good question. So before you even purchase the home, um, when you go under contract with a property, you have something called a due diligence period. This market now is a little different, but a normal due diligence period is safe to say about 10 days. So within them 10 days, the main thing what you well 10 in those 10 days, we gotta get our earnest money turned in. We're gonna do something called a home inspection. I would suggest anyone who's buying a home to do a home inspection. That's the only way you know what's potentially wrong with this home. Now, when you do a home inspection, it's best to use a reputable company, because if you're not a GC, a general contractor or anything, and you just go in the house and say, "Oh, this broke, that broke, this broke, that broke," the seller is going to say, nah, well, because you have no credentials to say those things. So when you have a home inspection, you getting a qualified person whose job it is to go in here and tell you all the foreseeable problems that you may run into in the year span, in the 6 month span, in the five year span. So the home inspection is really important. That lets you know within the first 10 days if you want to move forward. I'm pretty sure you probably seen homes, they go into contract and then in like 5 or 10 days it's back on the market. Most of the time that's because they found something in that home inspection that they say, nah, I can't move forward with this. So that's the first step to protecting yourself. Now, oh yeah, part of that home inspection is, like I say, if you have a qualified GC, general contractor or inspection company, when you have that home inspection, they're gonna point out everything, and then we'll take that report back to the seller and say, look, we need these things fixed. So we'll say that either they'll say we'll fix these, or we won't fix this, but we'll give you money for this. So it's not, negotiation is still going on at that time. So you kind of still negotiating during the due diligence period. So once we get that report, we give it to the seller and say, hey, these the items we found on this report that need to be addressed. If you don't address them, we're gonna pull the contract and go elsewhere. If you do, we can continue to move forward. So that's the first step in protecting yourself. The second step is after you purchase is something called a home warranty. A home warranty maybe $50 a month. and it covers so much: AC, refrigerator, dishwasher, a lot of appliances and things that go wrong in your house. That I'm sorry, that warranty covers. So it's a lot of companies out here that offer that. So one that I like is American Home Shield, which I have for my home myself. So if I would say yes, Google home warranty, and you'll definitely see what I'm talking about in that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, because that's like the biggest thing that I always hear about a lot of people when they renting properties. They say, well, if the roof goes out, man, that roof is $10,000. I don't have $10,000 to pay for a roof all at one time. You know,
Hmm.
I barely had enough money to take out a loan for this house. You
Yep.
know, like why would I sit here and do that? Same thing like you just said with your refrigerator. Refrigerators are expensive
Yep.
nowadays, man. Refrigerators going from I think the least expensive refrigerator I was looking at the time was about $1,200, and that was like for like a I think it was like either 19 to 25 inch. Most standardized refrigerators are 32. So you're looking at the
Hmm.
36s and bigger, or the zero freeze ones that are ranging like $3,000, or the custom ones that's built into the cabinet, all refrigerator, and another panel for the freezer. I mean,
Hmm.
you looking at 5,000 or so for those, but yeah, a lot of people just don't know. I mean, just something like a home warranty will protect you. AC unit goes out, home warranty. You're not paying the full cost because you're stretching it out like almost like a car payment over time, to where when you
Hmm.
have a hiccup, it's an easy move to make. You know, yeah, that's why I try to get people to understand. You know, the process is on everything that you do. You got to do some type of research,
Hmm.
and talking with you, people coming on the panel, listening to you, listening to what you're talking about. And even with this video going doing replay, a lot of people are going to hear this. They're going to say, okay, well, I always thought that I was going to get burnt. I didn't have no other options. So now they're starting to know that, okay, if this does do happen, I got the warranty.
It does. So one other thing I want to mention as well when it comes to real estate, which a lot of people don't understand. Um, Having an agent, your agent represents you and your interests. A lot of times with new construction, people will go into a new construction subdivision, speak with that agent that's on site. That agent on site works for the seller, the builder. They do not represent have your best interest in mind. They just trying to do what's best for their client, who is the seller. So it's always best to have your own representation as a buyer. A, a buyer does not pay for their agent. We get commission from the seller, from the sellers. They give the commission. Pretty much the commission comes from the seller. So if you don't use an agent as a buyer, you're doing yourself injustice, because no one represents your best interest. Um, Now, granted, it also matters with picking your agent. Pick someone you trust, because if you don't trust your agent, then I can, you know, I can talk to you till I'm blue in the face. But if you're gonna say, he don't know what he's talking about, then that's fine if you feel that way. However, you know, don't waste your time, because you waste your time by speaking with someone who you don't trust, and vice versa. You wasting that other person's time by you already like, I don't really want to work with this person. But I would just say be mindful of that. Now back to the renting and the selling part. Um, as an agent, I can do rentals as well. The problem with rentals is, far as showing rentals, the difference in rentals is the money. So let's say if I help you find a rental, I may only get paid $200 for, it might be a small little commission, $200 for each rental property I put people in. Now take this in consideration. If I take you around to 10 properties, and depending on what kind of car I have, I just drove up all my commission money. I just drove up all my money. So pretty much I do rentals for family and friends. I kind of slid back. Now I do like people to have the the official listings. So I don't mind sending the list out so you can go from there, and I can connect people with the real property management company so they don't get scammed, because I see that so much. But that's why a lot of agents don't do rentals, because the money is not there for us right now. Because they go so fast, and it's really, I can't say it's just not worth it right now. But like I say, family and friends, yes. But that's what that's that part. But all agents can help you with rental properties. They just
Yeah.
might not want to.
Yep. And that's I want to get back into that new, because we talked about the do's and the don'ts of getting a house 20 years, getting a extended warranty and all that. So what about a
Mhm.
new? I heard you were saying that getting an agent to represent you, not the one that's actually working for the new development company and stuff. So what about buying a new house? What are going to be the do's and the don'ts of that? So I know you get an agent for one. Let's say, do I need an inspection on that house, or do they give a
Yes.
warranty, if anything?
So with a new construction home, the the home gonna is gonna come with a warranty. They're gonna do a 10 month and a 2 year. Most of them do that. So like, with a new construction home, after the house got to settle. So after maybe 10 months, close to a year, you'll see different nail pops, little cracks along the line, and that's fine. That's what you want to happen, because you want them to come in and fill those cracks, and take care of these nail pops and things like that. So every new home has a warrant, comes with a warranty. They do two. They come out twice if within a 2 year span. So you have that. Now also with a home inspection, the home inspection is mainly for you. I would always say, definitely get a home inspection. Regardless. Even with new construction, it's a little funny because they have the builders and they have everybody on site, but at the end of the day, that home inspection is for you. So if if that builder walk you through and say, "Oh, well, this normal. That's 100% normal," but your inspector like, "Nah, that's not normal. We need, y'all need to fix that." They gotta address it. Now, if you don't have an inspection or inspector or a qualified person, you like, "Hey, what's up with this?" They give you some shoo answers, and you like, "Oh, okay." But even you do need the I would say definitely get an inspector. Now, one thing with new construction, if you're not happy, they gotta get that home to your standards. So it's a situation like the bot you always right type deal. Now, granted, they'll probably argue down, but at the end of the day, if you say I'm not happy with this, they gotta do something to make it right. And that's in real estate across the board. That's working with your agent and your lender as well. If it's ever something that you don't understand and have questions with, it's the professionals whose job it is to explain to you till you feel comfortable with what's going on. So, because at the end of the day, we all of us work for you. Your lender and your agent work for you. So if you're not happy, you gotta let it be known. No one does this just because we love to. I love it. However, if I wasn't getting paid for it, I probably wouldn't be as happy doing it. But it's one of them situations. We work for you, so you got to address your concerns. And the concern you have will be addressed, as long as you voice it. A lot of times they say, "I don't want to ask my lender this. I don't want to make them mad." It's okay. They work for you. If you don't, if you don't buy this house, they don't get paid. So they got to make you happy. We got to make you happy. You got to be completely happy with what you have.
Okay, yeah, because like I said, there's a lot of people. Like I said, the process on them
No,
actually buying the houses. You
I'm sorry. I
know,
got I got low percentage on this iPad. If you give me 3 minutes, let me hook it up.
all right, go ahead. I'll go ahead and do some talking.
Okay.
So, yeah, so like I said, basically, when it come down to it, a lot of people just confused on the matter of what's the process on them doing things, and overall, like how is it going to benefit them in buying versus renting. Granted, a lot of people say renting is you save money on renting, but the rent is more. I've rented before. I rented somewhere for $1,200. Then I turn around, looked at buying, looked at the options, $800. I'd be saving $400 a month if I was to actually, going into the process of me renting versus buying. And same thing with the buying process. I'm looking into buying. Okay. I found the house is this much, it's $800, but paying more on cutting the grass. Got to get this warranty just in case something happen. You know, it all depends what you want, because pros outweighing the cons. That's the thing with a lot of people that I try to get them to understand. Because say someone just don't really want to own anything. They don't want to have the proceedings on taking care of the grass, taking care of anything. There's a lot of people that just won't buy a house. They'll go and buy a condo. you know I've been in Miami, to where a guy had bought a $700,000 condo right there on South Beach. He didn't have to pay for a new roof because he was in a condo, but the maintenance in the building, it was all required under contracts, and they went from there. So when it came down to it, the future goal was this guy. He We was talking to him about rappers and Bugattis, and he was like, "Man, I would never buy a Bugatti. A Bugatti, man, it's like a ridiculous price." But then he would turn around and say, "We told him, we said, well, you're paying almost $700,000 for a condo down in Miami, but you won't buy a Bugatti." And he started laughing at us, and he was like, "Yeah, man, but this condo is gonna give me value. The Bugatti is gonna take money, And that was like the biggest thing that a lot of people didn't understand when it comes to money, far as buying, and dealing with cars and stuff like that. You're actually losing out, you know, and that proceed. But yeah, I mean, like I said, even with new subdivision, looking at getting into a new subdivision, do's and don'ts. The proceeding dealing with a older house. You know, hey, you getting a warranty. You don't have to worry about that roof, because that's what the extended warranty is for. You know, you don't have to worry about the fridge, all these other devices, because that's what the extended warranty is for. The extended warranty is to protect you, just as the people who are renting, they're worrying about the landlord taking care of all this stuff. Even though you're the main component of fixing everything, but you have that extended warranty as a backing, and in some cases you don't even have to pay out of pocket for the extended warranty to take care of the service.
I'm back. I'm good to go.
Okay. Yeah, and let's see. First, okay, with a lot of people, you were talking about the qualifying for the FHA and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So generally, going through the process, like steps, how many years you need to be on a job, just run down that whole aspect. Credit, you said about that. I mean,
Yeah.
money. Like, let's say if I come out there, let's say I got a 710 or a 720. I'm pretty decent on the credit. I don't have literally no money, no money, but I'm qualified. I've been at my job for 8 years, doing pretty good, make decent money. I make around, let's say, $5,000 a month, or I'll take it. Let's dial it back. Let's say I make about 2,000 a month. I make 500 a week.
Hmm.
What type of house would I be able to qualify for?
So with that, they use 33% of your income. So if you take your monthly income, your monthly gross income, and divide that by 33%, that's the most amount that they would give you as a loan, which got to include your taxes and insurance. So
Okay.
I have my calculator right here. Let me see. So if we say 2,000 a month divided by 0.33, I'm sorry, times 0.33, that's 660 a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the most it will give you a loan for, which has to include your taxes and insurance. So 660.
Okay.
Let's say if your taxes a month is say $40, and your insurance is maybe another 50. Let's say
Let's say
$30.
100.
So pretty
Yeah.
much $590 a month max is what they allow you to use towards a home. Because also part of it is they don't want you to use all your money paying the mortgage or paying the rent. Same like anything else. Like with a car note. They want even with rent. If you rent a property, you got to make 3 times the rent. Reason being, because life happens. When life happens, the make I'm gonna pay
You
my rent on, that third of your income is pretty much the staple in real estate for sure, definitely.
you're
You have
kind of breaking up.
down payment.
You're breaking up right now. I wonder is that me?
Can you hear me now?
Okay, you good. If it does it
Okay.
again, I'm gonna take it off
Um.
my Wi-Fi. But go ahead.
Okay. Money wise, they do have a lot of down payment assistance programs. In Georgia, we have something called Georgia Dream. DeKalb County has a lot of programs, but it's under FHA. So under the FHA, that 3.5%, what those programs do basically is pay that 3.5% for you. So if you have say you have that 750 credit score, and your interest rate on this 30-year loan would be, say, 4%. Just it's not accurate. I'm just using the number. So let's just say the interest rate will be 4%. That down payment assistance program, what they're gonna do, that money is coming from somewhere. So instead of you having a 4% loan, they'll make it maybe 5 or 4.5, and you'll pay for it over the course of the loan, just not up front. That makes sense. Did I lose you? Did I lose you?
You back?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Oh,
Did I
yeah, I
lose?
can hear you
Did you
now.
lose me for a minute?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good
Uh,
now.
okay. I
Wi-Fi
was
kicked. No, okay.
I know I was talking about the down payment assistance programs and under FHA. Did you catch that part? Mm-mm.
Yeah, I just dropped off my Wi-Fi. Go ahead now.
You want me to pick back up about the
What that
down payment assistance?
down payment assistant? Go ahead.
All right. So with down payment assistance programs, they use they're using the FHA loan. However, say if you have a good credit score like the 750, that would make your interest rate 4.0. 4%. With that down payment assistance program, they'll increase your interest rate and then use that money to cover your down payment. So the thing with these down payment assistance programs, the money coming from somewhere. They're just able to move it around to make it so you don't pay so much up front. They'll put it in the life of your loan. So if you need it, definitely. If you need to use it, definitely. If you can, because you can always, it's always better to keep $5,000-6,000 in your pocket if you can, versus drop it up front. And I get the question. I get this question a lot regarding housing. People say, well, what if I put down 30,000? What if I put down 20,000? So let's say the house is a $300,000 home. It's, it's not like a car. Like a car, a $20,000 car. If you put down $10,000, your payment is gonna change a lot. A house is different, because it's so long. It's a 30-year loan with 15 also, but on the 30-year loan is like for every $10,000 is almost around $10 to $20 off on your monthly. So if that kind of makes sense. So if you put down $20,000 or an extra $30,000 up front, you're looking at your monthly mortgage being maybe $90 less, $80 less. So it's not as big as a dent that a lot of people would think it is. So if you can, keep 30,000 in your pocket and use it as needed, you can put it to the side and pay your mortgage for you know, have a however many months versus giving it all up front right then. If that makes sense. Did I lose your sheet? Uh-oh.
The connection, Kate.
Keep kicking out.
There you go.
Uh-huh.
Now I hear you. I hear you fine.
Okay. But yeah, so that's pretty much that with those down payment assistance programs. You got any other questions you might have for
Yeah.
now?
Uh, not so much, man. I'm thinking about them now. Like I said, my whole thing is the let's talk about the investment side. Like far as what am I gaining by buying a house versus renting? You know?
Oh, investing?
Yeah, I mean just like far as me, a lot of people don't understand far as buying a house long term, like what am I gaining long term to the point say I want to sell my house in 10 years or maybe even 30 years in. Or
Mm-hmm.
if I want to keep my house, like what's gonna be the profit in me buying a house versus renting? Because yeah, I can rent a house, I never own it,
Mm-hmm.
but I won't have the headache of trying to get rid of house in a bad market versus what is the good part of me owning. And I want to say let's give one or two good characteristics of both, far
Gotcha.
as renting and far as buying.
Okay, so far we're renting. I would say where it would make sense to rent at if you're not sure where you want to be at in the next 5, maybe 10 years. If you're the type of person that travel state to state, then great. That I would say renting is not bad for you. It might make more sense if you might be in New York and then 6 months, a year later you're over here, depending on your job too. Some people jobs constantly have them in other places, and some people jobs pay for the rent. So that makes sense. If my job gonna give me a $1,500 stipend for rent every month, I'm not gonna buy it. I'm gonna rent. It only makes sense. However, what else? So that if you move a lot or if your job willing to pay for your rent, um, and of course if money, everybody got to live somewhere. You got to live somewhere. So if you can't if you're not in position to buy, then that's a reason to rent. So I don't knock rent. If you need to, yes, definitely. However, if you know you're gonna be in a spot maybe 5, 10 years, and you stability, you want to list stability, you like the area, then I would, and you qualify if you're in position, if you qualify, things like that. I would say why not?
Do you see the
Yeah, I see
question on
that.
the screen? He said it. I mean, he just came in, Lonzo. I
Okay,
might even drop the link for him as well. He's actually an agent, and this is a guy that does insurance as well. So,
okay,
basically he didn't see it, he didn't hear it from earlier. So he can just do a quick little run, like you said earlier, about that options.
okay. What? Say the question is, do you work with rent to own? Um, I can. But what I always tell people with rent to own properties is I would say pick one, either rent or buy, because in the MLS system, which I work out of, let's say it's 100 properties on the market right now that I can buy. Out of all those 100 properties, only maybe 5 to 10 of them may be rent to own. And a lot of times, my personal opinion is people do they use the rent to own program just to get in. But the thing about it to me is you making the decision right now that just because you need to get in, that when it's time, when you have your 250 or your 200 or your $300,000 ready to buy a house, you don't want to be already locked into something that you settled for, a couple, because of the situation. Because when you job, money, and credit, once you got all those things together, you can go anywhere. It's no limits. But when you do rent to own, you kind of limited on properties that are rent to own. Now, it's a company out here named Divvy. I seen them. I worked with them before. They they will purchase the home for you. However, the rent is so crazy. Let's say a $200,000 house, they might charge you maybe $2,000 a month for rent, which that is a lot. I can't knock it because some people need to. Granted, I don't. Whatever you need to do for your situation, of course. However, I would always suggest either rent something, find something to rent, or buy. I I I wouldn't really suggest rent to own. But if you say that's what you want to do, I can definitely help you with it.
Yeah, that's like one of the biggest things. A lot of people gotta realize, the companies that they're dealing with start doing research. That's what I was saying about buying a house. A lot of people are not researching what are their options, what they're getting themselves into. You got to actually take it back to high school. You know how you do your projects for school that you got to turn
Hmm.
in. It's the same thing with that.
So I had a meeting at 5:30 sheet, and they got here a little early, but we definitely can jump on here and do it again. I really, yeah.
Cool, no problem.
All right, so I'm gonna go on and disconnect. But anybody, don't hesitate to reach out. Give me a call 404-781-7401. Again, 404-781-7401. All right, she.
All right now. All right. Like I said, that's one of my good friends, and we talked several times about different little things, and he's an agent. And then that's why I wanted to bring on my channel. Like I said, when it come down to it, we can have the talk about difference between genders, issues going on in the community, but to actually take things to the next step, we're gonna have to start doing a lot more generational building, man. I'm gonna actually start talking to some guys, bringing them on far as structuring business. What are the proceedings to owning your own business? Because a lot of people just don't know the steps. They think it's so hard. You know, Something simple as you know selling things online. eBay, different different little stores that you can actually have an online store. You know, Talk to people about companies. And okay, business podcast. He has several podcasts. I come on, listen, talking about doing moving companies. You know, just several little bits. I was in on that because I actually owned the one at one time, and I do it still from side time to time. I actually work for a moving company, so I know the do's and the don'ts. I know a lot of things to avoid the headaches with dealing with customers and all that. See, the biggest thing is, what do you want? The process of you buying a house. What do you want out of this whole ordeal? If it's going to benefit you to buy a house, then understanding that's your option. But if not, you know, hey, rent. But the whole point is, you know, look at the pros and cons. Is it beneficial for you to buy a house at that time? Because, on average, like we were just talking about, you making $2,000 a month, you only gonna qualify for $500, basic income on getting a house. And that's gonna be a house that's less than 100,000. There are far in between that, too many houses out here that are coming out around 100,000. Uh Actually, I do have one. I actually just use my wife cash app because mine locked up. But when it come down to it, the biggest thing is, well, I put it up another time because my thing is I like when people support me and everything, but my biggest thing is giving out the information, man. I put it up, but my biggest thing, like I say, is I try to give out the information. I try to get people to get invested and doing the most actually for the community, man. Because when it comes down to it, I'm trying to trying to give out free information. We have so many people saying that the generations haven't taught us anything. And the biggest way to get the step ahead for the generations to learn is to give out the information. Like I tell guys, in this day and age, everything is pretty much online. You can say, I never knew how to buy a house. It's right there online. I never knew the keys and the steps to starting business. You have tons of YouTubers that are out here talking about, getting LLCs, getting incorporated. If your business going in the forward, you have blog sites talking about this stuff now. Early on years, this wasn't available. A lot of guys they just took it as it came. If you actually were on there and you were doing something, cool. If you weren't doing anything, you just sat along with everybody else, had your hands in your pocket, and didn't know what the next step was. You know, so a lot of people hoarded information back in the day, and nowadays that's not the case. So we can't blame other generations. Like a lot of these young guys, I always hear them talking about the older generations didn't teach me nothing. When it come down to it, the older generation, you could say, yeah, they didn't teach you anything, but nowadays you can go out and learn this stuff on your own. I once heard a pastor tell someone told this, I believe it was the pastor, and they were talking, and the pastor was asking somebody to go back to school. The person was like, well, I'm 48 years old. Uh, if I graduate, I'll be, no, they said it was 46. If I graduate, I'll be 50. And the pastor asked him, well, how old will you be if you don't go to school in 4 years? And it kind of struck their mind to say, well, I'll still be the same age, but with a little more accomplishment. And that's the biggest thing, kind of figuring out. I always talk about this knowledge of self. What do you want? Like what are your goals? The knowledge of self is understanding what you want out of life, what you're trying to obtain, and getting all this stuff done. To a degree, a lot of people, get the understanding, knowing what's going on, try to apply the rules and regulations to life. But for those that don't, they always stuck in limbo, never having a chance to fulfill dreams, and never having that understanding of the things at hand for them to accomplish because they needed that extra push and didn't have it. You know, that's why you got to start doing for self. That's why I came out with the series Helping the Bear. You know what's coming to save you. They'll help the bear before they help you. That puts you in the mindset of doing stuff on your own, getting the stuff done, no matter how hard the task is, seeing it through. There's a lot of people that's in school, they're in their 50s and stuff. They're still trying to proceed and, further their education by all means. You know, grease the wheel, grab those books, coffee, whatever you got to do, study, get it done. You know, a lot of people, we have this complex about we were never taught anything. You got to get out of that mentality. You know, we got this whole thing to saying that, well, only if I had this and my life would be better. This, no, your life is what you know. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I had a call. Thought it was somebody else, but yeah. But like I said, the main thing is getting the understanding. You know, figuring things out, and that's why I always promote life insurance. I've always told people in this space, you know, everybody in my family died. In my immediate family died that had life insurance. Uncles, great grandmother, mother, father, grandmother, uncles, all had life insurance. You know, it wasn't a type to where you leave a burden for people, you know. And with me having life insurance, passing that on to my kids, like I said, my dad was in the military. He passed. We got a check from the military until we turned 18, you know. And the biggest thing is Like I tell people, when it come down to it, that's why I promote life insurance so hard because, you know, you don't want to. I'm going to say this. Me and Lonzo had a conversation, and I'm just going to refer to just say the guy we was talking about because, close to family members and stuff. But the guy had got into a situation and got shot. The first thing he thought about was his kid. What was going to happen to his kid. You know, and having an understanding, walking out the door, you don't know what's going to happen. That's why I promote life insurance to actually give the next generation a step up. If something happens to me, the guy that just was on the panel, Ramon Williams, we were talking and with his life insurance, and we were talking about my life insurance, and we cracked a joke. We said, ain't gonna be no fish fries around here. We laughed at, that's why I tell people the new fish fries is the GoFundMe. No one's doing fish fries no more. They drop your name in the GoFundMe and hope somebody have a heart to donate money, you know. And like I said, Korean, you go back and look at the beginning and you will see that we're talking mainly about, the market, houses, renting versus buying at a situation. And but I just want to drop this about life insurance quick. But in the need of something happen to you, you could actually pay your house off with the life insurance that you get. You know, talk to a guy on the panel. Shout out to Rose Gold. Um, a guy on his panel actually got 100 and I think 80 some or 70 some $1,000 from his mom died. Dad got two something. Another brother got like 150, 180 something. You know, they didn't know the processes on buying a house, bought a house, wasn't inspected, bad deal. Turned around, spending money on stuff, you know, bad deal after bad deal, the money was gone. He said he know what he know now. He'll have that money, locked in and doing well for himself. But the whole process is the knowledge. That's why I kind of keep referring to that knowledge itself. You got to have an understanding of what you're doing and how you're doing it. Going into buying a house, I told several people about when you're going to buy a house, always think about the location. If you have kids, you got to understand I can have a nice $200,000 house, but if it's in the worst school system for my kids, how is that benefiting them if I don't send them to private school or send them outside of that community? Another thing, buying a house, location, location, they always stream location. What are going to be the do's and don'ts when you're buying a house in a certain area? A lot of people are always talking about certain things. Car insurance, for instance. When I stayed outside of perimeter, my car insurance was almost like $75 to $100 cheaper. I wasn't around any high traffic area. Now I'm in a high traffic area. My insurance is more. My car insurance is more. I'm near a mall, a lot of traffic. A lot of people don't take these things into consideration. You know, your insurance is based on how far your job is. I knew all the do's and don'ts. When I talk to the people for my insurance, I let them know I get a good deal according to, how close my job is. I'm just going to say, no matter where I live at, I stay no more than 30 minutes, no more than 15 minutes from my job. Just say that with my insurance. But, knowing that was key. Get cheaper insurance that way. No bad things on my driving record. You know, and back to the housing aspect. That includes your homeowners insurance. You stay in a rough area where crime is high, that insurance is going to be high. You know, property tax. Looking at a lot of people don't like paying high property tax. High property tax means great returns on your house. A lot of people don't like when the property tax go up on the house. But if your property tax went up an extra $100, but then you go look at the value of your house and it's went up extra 10,000, is that $100 a month worth it? $1,200 a year compared to getting an extra $10,000 on the value of your house. Take advantage of that. Just like the guy Ramon said earlier. You know, situation when you have $100,000. He said you can easy hard money loan, take 100,000 at 20%. You find five houses at 100,000. There you go. You could buy five homes right there, hard money loan, and take the houses if they're already move in ready. Get to rent them out, make that money back right there. You know, say if you want to just buy one house, go ahead and do a cash out. Buy that house for that 100,000. You're not worrying about no more payments. You're focusing on the insurance. You're focusing on the property tax. That's it. You know, do's and don'ts, tricks of the trade. I'm gonna go ahead and drop the link because get some people up here and we have a little talk for a minute. Then we can proceed from there. Rain and one, I'm gonna have to get your email because I wanna get at you a couple of times when our friend Gold Professor. Yeah, but when it comes down to it, you know, it's all about what you're looking for. Like I said, some people don't have the money to actually buy renting process. I mean, there's one thing that you don't have to worry about getting a new roof, don't have to worry about fixing anything. That's always a good part on the house. But do's and don'ts. What's going to equal out the value? How you doing, Alonzo?
Doing well. Thank you for having me up. I just came in to show support and to say thank you for having the valuable stream that you did today.
Yeah. Like I said, my thing is we can talk the gender war. We can oh, there it goes. Yeah, we can talk about the gender war. We can talk about he did this, she did that, or we can focus on building wealth, building our finances. Even looking at bettering ourselves with getting jobs, starting our own companies. Because at the end of the day, like I keep referring to, if we're gonna build a community, the men have to just take it upon themselves to just start working harder and proceeding with themselves. From the aspect of we always say the men are the leaders, protectors, and providers. Well, why don't the men just go out there and lead and provide? If the women don't want to be on board, just let them, join in later. Because at the same time, if they ready, they ready. If not, oh well. That shouldn't stop a man from being a man and carry on what needs to be done. If I'm in the process of buying a house and I can buy one at the age I'm at, and I'm, comfortable, good. If I'm waiting to get a wife, and so be it. What if you never get married? Is that going to hold you back from buying a house? Like I said, focusing on the biggest issue is you making money, understanding what you're getting into, knowing what you're investing into. That's the key. Buying a house is a good investment. You know, good return around. Let's say you get older in years, you want to retire on the beach. You know, had a house for the last 20 years. Environment around there's changed. Everything's doing pretty good. Like I tell people, when you start seeing sidewalks in your community, and you know that that community hasn't had sidewalks in the last 10 years or so, they might be doing some upgrading and it might be for the better. So take advantage.
Actually, speaking of upgrading and for the better, I definitely want to. I got to watch the playback too because I got to get my guy's number. Because I want to talk to him about actually he and I partnering up in having people do not only investing in physical real estate, but doing self-directed IRA real estate. Now, most people are not familiar in in either real estate or in the financial services world what a self-directed IRA real estate is. However, what it is, and due to me being aware of it, I'll explain it. What it is the IRS recognizes that real estate will appreciate faster than most retirement vehicles because most retirement vehicles have a growth percentage of 1% or less. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, real estate, even in bad scenarios where, the neighborhood's downtrodden and everything, you're still likely going to beat inflation. So, with a self directed IRA real estate, you can actually take your retirement account and self-direct and invest it into real estate. Now, how that works is, for example, you would be investing in, let's say, an apartment complex, not like a single family home or anything. Now, there are some caveats to that. One being you or your family cannot directly or indirectly benefit from it. So basically, like if you invest in, a senior complex, your mother couldn't then, you know, live in it, even though she indirectly benefits because she didn't know that you owned an interest in that commercial property. Okay. And then you couldn't benefit from living in that property. So that's the only direct or indirect benefit that you and your immediate family can't benefit from a self-directed IRA real estate. But other than that, again, the IRS realizes that real estate is going to appreciate faster than most retirement vehicles. Now, I'll be one of the first people that will tell you that real estate is a great tool for generational wealth. It's probably not the best tool, but it's the most common, easiest fathomable, and most tangible. Therefore, especially for African Americans, it makes sense to get real estate. And I am not, well, I am a licensed realtor, but I sell real estate in New York City. So, if you ask me about real estate anywhere else, I have no interest in it because like you can trip over dirt in New York and it's $1 million. So even at a 1%, my commission is still 10 grand. You sell a house out in, Connecticut for 100 grand at 6%, your max commission is 6 grand. And then you got to split that with your broker and everything. But so that's crazy. But I think, like you said, it's important for us in this space to not concern ourselves too much with the gender war and to concern ourselves with things that are germane to the rest of life. And yes, relationships are very germane to life. However, like you said, man, if I'm 20 something and I can plan for the future and plan for a house, it'd be a great idea. I was on someone's panel the other day, and he was talking to a 20-something-year-old guy who was talking about getting a vasectomy because he's scared that these black women are out here aren't good for a relationship. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Like, if that's the case, he was like, oh, well, I'm going to cryogenetically freeze my sperm. Dude, do you know how expensive that shit is? Like, adoption is like 40 grand. You're not fucking financially fit to do that. You can't afford a $25 a month life insurance policy from me, but you're going to freeze your fucking sperm. Go jump off a roof, you fucking lemming. Like, but this is the stuff that dudes are saying. And I understand why the black manosphere is getting a bad reputation, because unfortunately it's purporting these young men's minds abruptly. We're going against, I hear a lot of men who are against marriage. Oh, marriage ends at 70% divorce. Well, guess what? Here's an actual statistic. 80% of businesses fail in the first 5 years. But I don't hear none of you niggas running out there telling young men not to start an LLC.
Yeah. That Gold Professor,
Excuse my language.
he did a broadcast actually on freezing your eggs because the women, you hear a lot of women were talking about that,
Mm-hmm.
and you're paying a storage fee each month or year for these eggs to be frozen. So even if you do freeze your eggs, you're essentially paying monthly like a storage fee, and to have your eggs, to have that surgery. I think it was in feturalization, I think. I believe. I mean, that surgery starts, I think, at
Yeah.
10,000.
Damn.
Yeah. So even with the, and then let's say that the eggs don't take, the first egg don't take with the sperm, because they would have to essentially I was talking to someone was talking about that, about, taking the sperm, and you know they would have to use multiple eggs, and you know hoping that with the multiple eggs going in there, that one might take or all might take. You don't know,
Right.
because if the procedure don't happen the first time, then there's always the option of using it again. And who knows if you're going to be like the octo mom, or you're just going to have one child and the rest of them are, going to be like the like default, by
Right.
default, you know. So I mean, that's like the same thing with men, going through that proceeding. So like I said, I was on a panel with a guy. I think I said this before, that this young guy, 23 years old, he's accomplished more than this other guy who was an older guy, was in his 40s, accomplished at his is at his at excuse me, at his age. So the
Mm.
thing of it was, my advice to him was, you know, if you want to get married at a young age, settle down and do this, by all means, look into it as an option, as long as you have a viable woman that you trust and you work with her and everything's okay. Because if at the rate I'm at now at 38, if a young man came to me, has done everything I did plus a little more, and he's 20 years old or 22 years old, and I'd be like, by all means, man, me and you are almost comparable to the same level right now. So your commitment to life right now is, especially if he has that mindset as well as me. So he's ahead of the curve. Why not explore that option? But my also thing too is, you know, picking the woman that you're gonna deal with. Because
Hmm.
that's the biggest thing. A lot of guys going into relations, you know, just like you said, with business, exploring that options, you know, what is going to be your benefit, and that's why I was talking about now about buying houses and renting, and going into this proceeding, because you know I've talked to young guys, that want to buy houses in their early 20s. I've dealt with guys that bought houses young because they were making a whole bunch of money, and people were forcing them into getting a house. I'd dealt with this one guy. He was 27 when he got his first house, and he didn't even want the house. He was renting, and he said he had his bachelor pad, was doing good. He
Hmm.
thought that getting a house was going to be more of a headache, but it's actually, he was like, he been saving so much money, he started throwing parties, and so he's like, I'm gonna be throwing parties like on a regular now. He's like, when I
See?
was in my rental property, man, I was kind of throwing parties every other month, but now I'm doing a budget. He's like, I'm saving an extra $700 a month. Even though I got these other things I got to deal with, but far as the rent compared to paying a mortgage, I'm saving $700 a month, you
Wow.
know, and he
Oh,
still had his other bills and stuff. But hey, go ahead.
here's a trick that can be used, and this is actually with the real estate. So, as I often say, life insurance adds to your net worth. So, for example, if you have a $500,000 house, or a house that's worth $500,000, and you have that asset that would bridge your net worth up $500,000. However, due to you having the mortgage on the house that is worth $500,000, and the mortgage on that house is your liability of $500,000, that would reset your net worth to zero. Now, you would then be contacted for something called mortgage protection life insurance, or you would, well, I'll teach you how to do that after. But so you're back at zero. So if you purchase a $1 million life insurance policy, your net worth is now $1 million. And then you pay off that home after 30 years, your net worth is now $1.5 million. Now, obviously, there's other factors into it, but that's the most simple and plain way to explain it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's why I keep referring people back to you with life insurance, because like I said, the easiest step is, taking care of yourself. No matter you're married, no matter you're single, taking care of yourself is the most beneficial thing that you can do for yourself. I'm quite sure if you could have an out of body experience, you will pat yourself on the back by getting life insurance, because you're essentially taking care of yourself. You know, in the end, no one's gonna love you like you. So you put things in process, put things ahead. So when you get older, you already have things lined up. I talked
Exactly.
to several members in my family. We all have these same talks and everything, these same notions of, understanding someone can be there because we're family, but if just because no one's there, everything still is gonna be taken care of. My wife, her grandma, she's like what, 92. She planned her own funeral, paid for her own repast, paid for every. I mean, she's older. She's lived life and she's understand her time could be coming any moment. But for the younger generation that goes outside just to go, go down the street to go get a beer or something, not even going to a bar, just going into a corner store, walks
Hmm.
out, random shooting, walks out, not looking, get hit by a car. See, tragic like that is starting to happen more and more. And now that we're in the process of COVID, like I'm hearing so many more and more people getting COVID to the,
Hmm.
to the wrist. Like when COVID first started, none of the people didn't
It's
understand
hard.
like the whole thing, the imagine how bad it was gonna be. You know,
Yeah.
people like the numbers of people are just outrageous right now. I mean, if anything, if this wasn't the time for you to look at getting life insurance, I would consider, do you even love yourself at this moment? Like, you
Wow.
know, like
Well,
I
and
would
so
even consider that.
so here's the thing, right? And I wanna gear something towards life insurance because a lot of the times we think about mortality or dying with life insurance. Notice on the last example I gave you of becoming worth $1 million, nowhere did I mention dying, right? Because the wealthy will insure one life at least 7 times. So again, let's look at that scenario where we're purchasing that house. And again, I'm going to use arbitrary numbers, so I'm going to use the $1 million figure because it's easy to grasp. So again, let's say you want to purchase a home, and we already know that having a life insurance policy will add to your net worth. If you speak to any mortgage loan originator and ask them if you have a life insurance policy, will they calculate it into your net worth when they're calculating your mortgage? The answer will be yes, as long as the policy was in force for at least 2 years and wasn't purchased with the intent or purpose of using it for covering the mortgage. Right? So what do? Well, most people know they want to buy a house more than a week in advance, right? So you're going to start doing shit like saving up your down payment, etc. And I'm going to talk about the down payment too. But could you imagine being that younger man in your 20s when a multiple $1 million life insurance policy is going to be pennies on the dollar? So maybe for $100 a month or the entire cost of your Gucci belt. Oops, because shiny belt buckles matter. But for the entire cost of your Gucci belt, you can be worth actually $1 million, right? And then you can progress, own a home, and have rental income, and then rental income will pay for the shiny belt buckle. You always hear me say, next tax season, I'm going to get a Lexus. I'm gonna stun on these niggas too. But there's levels to it and there's steps, right? So let's look at that saving the down payment. Now, again, you know how I love to talk about the interest rate because niggas always talk to me about the interest rate. So Your high yield interest savings account or money market account today is with Marcus Millichap, aka Goldman Sachs. They give you an APY or annual percentage yield of 0.5%. So what does that mean? Let's use arbitrary numbers. So if you put $100 away with Marcus Millichap today, August 31st, 2021, and leave it there, you have to leave that $100 in Marcus Millichap's account until August 31st, 2022, and it will earn you a walloping 50 cents. Now, on the flip side, life insurance, on the worst case scenario, grows at a 2% compound interest rate. So, what does that mean? August 31st, 2021, you put $100 into a cash value life insurance policy. September 30th, 2021, that $100 has earned you $2. How you doing? Would you prefer $2 a month or 50 cents a year? Resoundingly, how many people do you think say to me, I would prefer $2 a month?
Yeah.
Imagine 100% of the dudes I said would say that, because they do. And then I
Yeah.
say, okay, put your money where your mouth is. Sign here. Uh, uh, uh. Bruh, let me tell you a story about my life. 2008, 3 days before Mother's Day, in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, aka the Trey Foe. I was out there kicking up dust. I was selling weed and working at Wendy's. I got shot 5 times in front of my mother 3 days before Mother's Day. So there's a reason I come to y'all with this kind of passion, right? This is financial shit that can actually close that racial wealth gap. But we got to take it serious. I'll give you the story actually Shiju was talking about earlier. My family member up in the Bronx, a month before he was about to get married, got shot in a drive-by. When he was on that hospital bed, the only thing he could think about was number one, damn, I'm supposed to be flying to Vegas in a month and getting married. And my son, all right. And my son, what's going to happen to my seed? Right? Now, I got shot. He got shot. Unfortunately for young African American men, a song by the man named Uncle Murder is very true. Niggas get shot every day, B. You'll be all right. You tough, right? Cameron voice. So we shrug it off like that's not something that we might have PTSD. Like every 4th of July, I don't get panicked when I hear them popping because I got shot 5 times. So I'm a little nervous about that type of stuff. But anyway,
Yeah.
so
Oh, go
your
ahead. I'm gonna
cash
let you finish.
value is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I said go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish.
So your cash value, again, is growing at that 2% compound interest. Now, what I generally offer and what you're talking about, like what you have, Sheed, with Lincoln and what you purchased for your sons, is something called an indexed universal life insurance. Because you know how everybody was getting a hard on over Tesla supposed to be going on the S&P 500. Well, life insurance has been attached to the S&P 500 and paying dividends for over 120 years. Oh shit. Hold on. I gotta go food with my wife. Um, Hold that thought. I'll be right back.
So basically, now that he's saying that, it is kind of funny because I was just gonna bring that up about my boys. So, I got the insurance policy with him, pretty much the same I got for myself. I'm like, why not get it for my kids? So I actually got that for them. And let's do a rundown. So basically, my boys are 10 now. I got twins. When it comes down to it, they're going to be a little more ahead of the curve than most because when they get to the sum of 20, maybe 25, and they're interested in, having a bachelor pad, they want to get a house. Let's even say that they want to move in together, but I would prefer them to get two houses and live in one. So essentially, they get two houses. Both of them have houses in their name. one that they're living in and the other one that they're renting, you know. And the deal is this: they're going down there to get the down payment. We can go FHA, kind of a little higher on the note because you're not putting down a 20%. You're going FHA, you know, 3 to 5%. Closing costs. They can get a closing cost from me as a gift, or they can go into their life insurance that they had ever since they were 10, pull the down payment and the closing costs out, or maybe even have to the sum of 20% in there that they can borrow towards it. I know Alonzo can speak on that, but the point of it is they don't have to, worry about where the money's going to come from. They just say, even in general, I give them a gift that which a lot of people don't understand. That if you're buying a house and you don't have the money, you can reach out to family members and friends as a gift. They write a note saying that this money is a gift towards down payment for such such. This money is a gift towards the closing costs for such and such. Sign, show the check, depositing or dealing with the loan officer to give them that, to give them an understanding that this is what the check is for from the family member. Because if you have cash money, it's not going to be accepted. You know, the biggest thing with banks, they want to know traces of all the money. I've talked to this lady. She actually was saving up money in a safe, and they had about $10,000. I expressed to them before she was looking at buying a house, and they had 10,000 already in there. I told them to take the 10,000, put it in their accounts. I said, but what you want to do is you can gradually put it in, or you can drop it in all at one time and let them know this is side money from cutting grass, this is side money from doing side work, or you can just drop it in there, and you have to let them know where the money's come from. Because when buying a house, you're not coming up there with a large sum of money just out of nowhere. You know, like some cartel movie, you just say you found, a stack of money, this and that. They're gonna want to know in detail. So let's say that they were getting this money off their check and they were putting it in their safe. They can show the withdrawals from each time they got paid and were putting that money aside. So when it was time for them to go put the money in the account to put it on the house, just go back each time and show each time they pulled out that money. But like I was referring back to with my boys, when it's time for them to buy a house, they can become the bank. That was my whole reason. Like, that was my number one goal for buying life insurance back in the day when I found out about this, that I can borrow money off a whole policy and to, do whatever I want, and I'm paying myself back. I'm not paying the bank back the interest. I'm paying myself back the interest. And that was the key that actually made me want to say, okay, I'm going to get this policy because of this. This is going to benefit me. This is going to help me because of this right here. You know, and Alonzo talks about this. Life insurance is not a death insurance. They have death insurance. They have insurance to where if you die, that's what this insurance is good for. But the life insurance, as I'm saying, you're back, Alonzo. But I was saying about with my kids, they can take that money out of their life insurance. Go buy a house, each one of them. Go ahead.
Exactly. So, in terms of that, when you have children, um, like we said, she has actually done this with me, um, and obviously, I don't take that light, and I appreciate that because he trusts me with his children and his children's legacy. Okay, and that's something serious, and that obviously shouldn't be taken lightly, which is why I thank you for trusting me with that. But you yourself can do this for your kids too, guys. Okay. Like he said, it sounds great when you do things like put aside money in a Section 529 college savings plan for them, or save money in a bank account for them. It's all stuff that I still would say go ahead and do, plus get the life insurance, right? You can get life insurance on a kid as soon as they are 15 days old. Now imagine, right, what I was just telling you about the interest rates on somebody who's 15 days old. Because the way insurance cost works is not, well, how much is $100,000 worth of life insurance? Well, how much is $100,000 worth of life insurance on a healthy, non-smoking, 5'8", 135-pound black man who's never skydived, never had a hiccup, never had an accident, and family doesn't have bad health history, family never been sick. Okay, it's cheaper for him than, somebody who has diabetes and the gout, right? Even though they're the same age, height, weight, and everything else, right? But for the fact that it's a child, there's this thing called cost of insurance. For the sheer fact that numbers wise, when you're a child, you likely aren't going to die after SIDS for many, many years. SIDS meaning sudden infant death syndrome. That's why they make you wait 14 days until the child is 15 days old, because for fear of dying from SIDS. I guess that's a true thing that happens. A child suddenly dies, and they call it sudden infant death syndrome. Um, and so after that, you can actually put a policy like this on the kid. So instead of a 529 college savings plan that is going to pay an advisor like myself great because we're going to get 2 and 20 fees off of you, you can put that money to something that helps your child. And the advisor still gets paid a commission, right? Yeah, we don't get nearly as much, but you get the benefit. And that's what this business is about, right? So then, boom, your kid grows older and now they're ready to buy a house. Well, because they have that life insurance policy and it's a cash value policy and it's built up X amount of dollars over X amount of years, you're going to have more money in it than you put in it. So when it comes time for that down payment of a house, if you were saving up money in your bank account for 10, 20 years, like the lady was doing in her safe, and she saved up, $20,000, $30,000. Imagine if you saved that same $20,000, $30,000 up, saving it the way you did in your safe, $100 here, $100 there, but faithfully you put, $200 a month away, and then when you had extra money, you put it there. That's how most people save, right? And over time, it balloons. And let's say over the course of 20 years, you paid out of your pocket $30,000. Well, with the power of the compounding of that interest, it's likely you'll have $75,000 of liquid cash in that policy. Mind you, this is on your child, and you got it when your child was 15 days old. Now they're 21, and they didn't decide to go to college, but they want to buy a house. Well, you've got a gift there to give them. Hey, your own life insurance policy. I was putting some money aside for you for years, son. Really? How? Well, I got your life insurance policy when you were born. I put 30,000 into it. It happened to belong to 75,000. Here's your down payment on your house, son. Congratulations. Now, yeah, the life insurance policy gets canceled because he liquidated the money, but he's not buying it with the purpose of dying. He was buying it with the purpose of a life event, which is what life insurance is.
Yep. And
That's all I had.
yeah, I mean that's what my biggest thing is, like to tell people, weigh your options. You know, even like my whole thing is if you single, it doesn't matter. You put this policy in over time. Let's say you get to an older age and you want to retire. There's your money for your dream home right there. There's your money for your dream home.
Boom.
Hey, like I told this about Joey, man. The smaller channels, when you talk about real value and reality, the numbers are skewed. You don't have those big turnouts because the fun and games over here in this space, the manipulation, the women talking, it's fun and games. But when you're talking about real money and talking about like this is the real community talking, which we want to hear, but it's not being preceded. Now the whole misdirection that can be celebrated all the time, but like I tell guys, man, the value, man. A lot of people talk about value and substance, but they really don't want it. You know, it's a facade. It's a dream. It's a fairy tale. Like I said, with me and you talking about this, getting the insurance at a child being 15 days old. You know, getting an insurance policy for them, setting it up to when they get older, like essentially, you can go buy a rehab for 75,000, get an investor to come in with you, fix the house up, sell the house for market value 200 or 100 and some $1,000, take that money and go buy a house. You know, it all depends. You know, I was just talking with one of my friends now. He was telling me he's on his next house. He was looking at his options on, getting a house and having to go conventional because, the process what he's doing now, he can't go FHA. So, that's a lot of people. Hard money, you can get houses all day, but what's the next
Say
option
that
when you
every
don't
day.
have that money? Yeah,
Yeah, that money, hard money is hard. That's why they call it hard money.
exactly. you know. And a lot of people don't know the do's and the don'ts of real estate. And that's why I said that's why I wanted to touch on because you'll have so many people complaining about paying for a new roof, paying
Mm,
for a refrigerator, paying for an AC unit to go out, but they don't know that you can get a home warranty just like you get for your car. A lot of people don't know that you get a used car. Long as
mm,
that car isn't over a certain amount of miles, you can get a warranty on that car to where typically they give you 50 or 100,000 miles, whichever, 100,000 miles or what is it? 100,000 miles or 5 years, whichever come first, or they'll give you 100,000 miles, 10 year, whichever come first. And in some cases, the car is much older. They'll give you, 80,000 or 50,000, 5 years, whichever comes first. If that car within 5 years, anything happens, they fix it. Within 5 years, if I mean within 50,000 miles, whichever comes first, the 50,000 of the 5 years, anything goes wrong during that time, they'll fix the car. They have a trial period, just like with the housing. You get a car, the first say 2,000 or 3,000 miles, you can't report anything to the car. First 2 to 3,000 miles or 2 months, you can't report anything wrong with the car. It's got to be in working condition when you first buy it. You can't buy the warranty, then the next day say, well, this messed up. Now they have those type of policies that do that because I bought one from a dealership. I got scammed that way. I bought a Dodge Stratus, paid $8,000 cash for the car. That was $7,000 cash for the car and drove off the lot. Nothing wrong with it. Got about probably say 20 miles down the road. Check engine light came on. Called the company. I said, hey man, check engine light came on. They was like, well, it's your car. Get it checked out. Got it checked out. Transmission's messed up. It's gonna cost you $4,500 to get a new transmission. I said, man, I just spent $7,000 on the car. Now I got to spend 4,500 for a transmission. So I was like, you sold me a lemon. I called the place back. They said, well, did you get the warranty? I was like, yeah, I got the warranty. They was like, well, the warranty is active as soon as you drove off the lot. Get the warranty people to fix it. So now I got to go deal with the warranty people. If I would have just opted out of getting that warranty, I would have been screwed because I seen the way that the dealership was working with me. They knew it was something wrong with that car. Same process on buying a house. When you get that home warranty, depending on what you pay for, it's active right then. So you buy the house the first 6 months, the roof caves in. Home warranty's coming to fix it. You might have to pay a little out of pocket, but they're coming to fix it. You know, let's say the refrigerator goes out, AC unit goes out. Probably don't have to pay out of pocket depending on what your status is, but It's the same thing. And a lot of people didn't understand that because every time I would talk to people about buying houses, that's the number one thing that they told me. If a roof goes out, that's $8,000. I don't have $8,000 to fix my roof on my house. But when you tell them about the home warranty, they was like, "What? They give home warranties on houses?" Yeah. Wow, that's nobody never told me this. And like I said, it's all about research, talking to people. Like a live stream like this where you get an understanding to say, if I'm gonna buy a house, I need to make sure I get a home warranty. I need to make sure my I because and another thing too, when we was in the process on buying a house, I know you could speak to this. They have insurance to where with the mortgage company to where if you die before the house paid off, they'll essentially pay the house off for you.
Yeah, that's a mortgage protection life insurance.
Exactly. And a lot of people don't understand that. You might have a family member, that you're buying a house with, you and your wife, and you're buying a house. Something happens to you and both of you guys are on there. Essentially, the house gets paid off. Now you have a house that's paid off because, you're in a grieving moment. That should be the last thing that you're worrying about is where you're going to stay, you know?
Mm.
And a lot of people not noticing that. I mean, same thing with life insurance. You're in a grieving moment. Like I told my wife, I said, not only do I have you over this policy, I have another person over there just as well because you're going to be already destroyed about me passing, and you got to shake it off, as guys say, man up, and then go in here and look at how to bury your mate.
Mm.
Like that's already going to be a struggle within itself. So I have someone else already available that's going to go in there and help you with the proceedings. They can do everything while you just sit back and mourn. You know, Same thing with the finance. Have it to where make sure certain things are paid off, and get you to the point where you're comfortable with doing things. Because my thing is this: if I'm gonna put somebody involved in some of my business, I'm gonna make sure this person is qualified. I'm not have to worry about anything about them stealing any money or doing nothing. And that's like the biggest thing when it comes to a lot of people. It's about who you can trust.
Fact.
People with money generally they typically don't want to steal because they have money. They work hard for theirs, so they know how it works. Now, people who generally don't have money, and most of the time when this opportunity presents itself, I mean, on average, if a person finds $100 down on the ground, they're going to pick it up and keep it. Now, you see $100 down on the ground, you got a pocket full of money, and you see someone drop that $100, you're going to pick it up and go take it to them.
So you
You
might
know,
at least alert them, hey, you dropped your money.
exactly. So when it comes down to it, a lot of people don't know these proceedings, man. That warranty is going to be a great thing to help you keep your house. That mortgage insurance is going to be a great way to pay your house off if something happens to the family member. It's like preventative maintenance. The whole point of getting an oil change, the whole point of doing a inspection on your car, just in case something happens. Why not have that proceeding for as you would buying a house and you would life? Life insurance is just in case something happens. You know, you talk about disability insurance. You're talking about the other insurance that we was talking about the other day. The
Long term care.
yeah, long term care insurance. Those are preventative maintenance stuff. Like if something was to happen, you have things in play. You have things in line to where you're protecting yourself. And a lot of people don't take this serious until it's too late. You know,
Yeah.
that's I've seen like I've said this one time before that I was on the guy Jules Gaming Lounge. Shout out to Mark Nash, the guy that does music. I'm always on Mark
And get the
Nash. He
laptop
talks
given
about
away too.
music, everything. Yeah. And there was a battle rapper guy. He actually his mom died. So he was the host of the battle raps, and he ended up reaching out to the battle rap community, asking them to, hey man, can y'all help me support, donate some money for me to bury my mom. I'm looking at, around this much money. And, it was a slow process from him getting the money, but I don't even know if he got it or not all the way. But I know it's just a slow start where nobody wasn't really giving. But you hosted all these battle raps. You dealt with all these close friends. But the main concern that I always say to people, it starts with the family first. We losing this family structure. This whole thing. I always tell people that this whole family structure is almost going into the ages of dinosaurs, to where you're not gonna have a family structure no more. You know, the Mexican community, they to a degree have that structure still, to where you can go and take three families, put them in an apartment, get one vehicle, they all work, 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 get more vehicles. Then they move out the apartment, go buy one house. All three families, three cars. All three of them go to work, get some more cars. The where the women get cars if they want to go to work. They go to work, they build that establishment, pay that one house off. Go in next, pay the next house off. A lot of people, oh, that's not true. This in some cases, majority of them are doing it. Not everyone in Mexican family are that close knit, because when they come to America or even just in Mexico, some of them have lost their way. That's how it is in our community. Back in the day, we were close knit. Now, majority of us have lost our way. We don't want family members around because of the way they treat each other. You know, Ultimately, you have that issue at hand. So when it comes down to it, family members are making that decision to opt out of the family and to stay alone. And with staying alone, you got to take everything that comes with it, and that's the bad part. Yep.
Wow, yeah, definitely. You know, um, and even like you said, in paying it, you mentioned disability. Actually, I want to talk about that because that's another thing. So generally, what happens after you close on the house? You'll find a packet, and they'll sell that to insurance agents. Generally, between 1 and 3 years after you close on your house. And that's when you'll get a call from an insurance agent trying to sell you your mortgage protection, life and mortgage protection, disability, or income protection insurance. It'll be income protection life and um, income protection insurance. Income protection insurance being disability. The way disability insurance works is basically it's paycheck insurance. So they will actually pay you money up to 60% of your take home income for anywhere as short as 3 months for up to all the way to age 70, depending on how you structure your policy. So now people are thinking, well, I'm good. I got workman's comp. In New York City, workman's comp is like $200 a week. New York City. So I can't imagine that in other places it's that much more if it's not basically equivalent. So let's go for somebody who's making $52,000 a year or $1,000 a week. You've just gone to 20% of your take home income. Well, disability insurance can give you up to 60% of your take home income. So now imagine you get hurt on the job, then you go home workman's comp, 20% of your $1,000 a week. So in a month and a week, you will have earned what you earn in 1 week. Right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 1,000. It takes 5 weeks for you to make that $1,000 on $200 a week. But with a separate disability insurance policy, you get hurt on the job, you get your 20% workman's comp, and then your disability kicks in at 60%. So that would bring you to 80% of your take home income. Right? Now, let's say you get hurt off the job. Well, your workman's comp, your work disability ain't going to pay because you didn't get hurt on the job. So you have no paycheck protection. So now you're out of work and you're not making even that 20% that at least you got from workman's comp because you didn't get hurt on the job. So how do you think that's going to affect, your quality of life? So we get the disability insurance, and separately on your own, you're protected for at least 60% of your take-home income. Yes, they have to leave some pain in the program. But then there's things on that like how much, how long, how soon. I'll do a video on that later. I don't want to, take over the show. I see you've been going for a minute too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm about to get ready to jump off, probably about another maybe 20 minutes or so. But yeah, like I said, it my biggest thing is to get people more focused on the process about buying. You know, what are your options? The biggest thing, like I said, in the community is a lot of people always claim that the elders haven't taught them anything. They don't know this, they don't know this because no one ever taught them. It's not an excuse no. YouTube videos, people make blogs. Yeah, I got a call. Let me jump
Yeah,
right
go ahead, handle
quick.
that. I'll continue. So, I also have my real estate license. Like you said, it's not an excuse anymore. People have YouTube videos, TikToks, real estate blogs, everything. Real estate is a great game, but like you said, you got to explore your options, right? So when you're looking at options, even in real estate, there's a multitude of different options, right? Do you want to purchase land? If you purchase land, what type of land do you want to purchase, right? And then what's the purpose of that land? Are you going to, knock it down and let them build a strip mall and make the money off the commercial real estate that's built on top of it? Are you going to do like Donald Trump and lease out your name? you know. And then when you're looking at residential real estate, if it's real estate that you are not living in, it automatically becomes considered a commercial property. Now, when we're looking at, because I didn't see the whole thing with the gentleman, so if it sounds redundant, I do apologize. But when you're looking at purchasing properties, you're looking at not only, single family or multifamily, but, complexes, apartment complexes. So the idea that most financial people or gurus will tell you is that you should have, before buying yours, you need to acquire at least more than 4 doors. So, for example, if you could get an FHA loan on up to 4 doors. But once you get an apartment building or a house that's 5 doors or more, it becomes a commercial property. And then you have to get something called a jumbo loan, which is more along the lines of traditional. And that's a different status. But it's looked at differently, and qualified for differently. But the idea is to actually get that first. So you want to get multiple doors. When you're getting those multiple doors, then if we're looking at, things like the African American community, we can actually help and give each other a hand up. How do I mean that? What do I mean by that? Well, again, I'm a licensed realtor in the state of New York. In New York State, once you have 5 doors or more, you are legally obligated to accept government subsidies. Now, people on government subsidies are not all baby mamas with 8 kids. Okay. I happen to know personally a person who makes over $100,000 a year who is living in New York City, who is on a housing subsidy because their credit was destroyed. Due to I don't know what, but their credit was messed up and they had to get on a housing subsidy. So there's also things like, actually a friend of mine and I, he has a property management company based out of the Bronx, and we are in the process of acquiring a property so that we can make basically a halfway house for young men, except it's not going to be a halfway house. It's going to be accepting young men who are coming out of those systems and need like a shelter, not a shelter system, but to avoid the shelter system and have voucher programs, but may not have the money that it costs to rent a room on their own yet, because it's not cheap in New York City to rent a room. A shared room for rent is going at $1,000 a month on the going rate in Brooklyn, New York. Again, these numbers are skewed higher because I'm talking about New York City. So I do apologize if, the numbers are too high, but it is what it is. So one strategy, again, is not just the single family, but again, 5 doors or more and acquiring a jumbo loan. This will accelerate your income. You can also live in that property if necessary, but you won't be attaining an FHA loan because of the structure of the property. Another big thing that people don't take advantage of is what's called mixed use properties. So a mixed use property is a commercial slash residential combined into one unit. For example, your local bodega, if you're in the Northeast, where there's a corner store, but there is an apartment upstairs, that is called mixed use. The landlord of that property is receiving money from not only the renting tenant on a year-to-year lease, but also the renting tenant on a commercial lease. And when you're talking about commercial leases, there are different structures than a residential lease, which is usually either between 12 and 36 months. A commercial lease generally starts at about 5 years, right? So you're committing to the space for 5 years. It's generally going to have an annual 3% increase on that rent, meaning per month, they're going to increase whatever you paid per year. Or excuse me, they will increase what you pay per month based upon 3% of what you paid the entirety last year. So let's say, you paid $24,000, they'll take 3% of that and add that to the X amount of dollars per month. Okay. Then commercial leases, you have a gross lease, which leaves the commercial tenant responsible for certain things. And then you have something called a triple net lease, which leaves the tenant open to different things. Again, when you're looking at real estate, you really have to explore your options because each one of these things is very in-depth and very different. For example, if you're doing commercial real estate, you're not going to do residential real estate. Commercial real estate is usually done from 9 to 5. Residential real estate is done 24/7. But so, those are just a couple more of those things that definitely in real estate can benefit you. And you can pass these properties down to your next of kin as long as you pay them off. Even if you haven't paid off the loan, that debt will go to your next of kin. Now, as long as you die without life insurance, so the house doesn't get paid off, or you die before the house gets paid off, which most people do because most people refinance in the first 12 years, 7 to 10 years to be exact, but in the first 7 to 10 years of their purchase of a home, they refinance to get a lower monthly payment. And usually to get out of that FHA loan. So it gives you a lower interest rate, a lower monthly payment because you don't have what's called PMI, private mortgage insurance. That's something you should actually know about an FHA loan. FHA loans come with PMI, which is private mortgage insurance, which is an insurance that will protect the bank in case you default on the loan. I would like to ask what you would tell a person that's on disability and want to get their own place. Well, Warren, geez, that's a good question. I'll tell you what. I'm going to take that question, and I'm actually going to go ahead and answer it on my next video. So you'll get that answer. You'll have to come over to my channel, but you'll definitely get that answer. So back to what I was saying. In the event that, you are, let's actually get back to disability. If you have disability insurance and you get disabled, it'll pay for that. But so private mortgage insurance is in the event that you default on your mortgage, it pays the bank for your defaulting on the loan. Okay. There's also something in the stock market called a REIT, REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust. And a real estate investment trust is usually mortgage-backed securities packaged in in together into a security. So those securities get traded on the stock market, meaning your mortgages, and they package them from A to Z. Z being bad mortgages at a high chance of default. So a lot of people like to invest in those high chance of default mortgages because they have PMI, and that means that they're going to pay higher. Isn't it funny that they want you to get into a bad mortgage and become a slave to that debt so that they can play on the stock market with it? That's what a REIT is. Terribly, right? So those are a couple of things that definitely, aren't involved in your purchasing of a property. But again, when we're looking at that mortgage, your life insurance can actually help you qualify for that jumbo loan because your life insurance will be looked at as an asset as long as it's in place. No doubt, one. Salute. Thank you for that. As long as it's in place for at least 2 years and wasn't purchased for the purpose of buying the mortgage. Well, of course, you wouldn't tell the mortgage loan originator that that's why you purchased it. But if you're sitting with the all-star advisor like myself, you kind of want to let me know that so I can help you structure it years in advance. Because by the time you get around to buying that mortgage, let's say, like I said, the average house, let's say a house is $100,000 and you don't want an FHA loan, right? Because an FHA loan allows you to put 3.5% down. Oh, an AFI, or $3,500, right? Or a traditional loan requires you to put 20% or $20,000. So in that situation, you've actually, okay. So in that situation, you have, you're saving up $20,000. So, like the situation where she was explaining, the young lady saved up some money, she can save that money up as opposed to saving it in a bank, in a safe or the bank account and get interest on it. And then when it grows at that 2% compound interest rate, you can use that as a down payment on a house. Or you don't even have to liquidate it. You can show that you have that money available liquid and say, I have life insurance, X amount of dollars, like I got $1 million worth of life insurance. This house is only $100,000. Will you owe me the money? I have collateral. And then you'll actually be collateralized. So, that's definitely awesome. And things that you can definitely have for you. Give me 1 second. I'm responding to a text.
All right, yeah, I'm back, man. Had a situation with some family friends, man. Just talking with them about some. But yeah, man, one check it out, man. Check them out. You know, like I was telling people earlier, man. I got that insurance for my boys. So, like I said, by the time they get in their 20s, if need be, if they want to go buy a house, I don't have to give them the money. They can actually take it out of their life insurance, man, and work it like that. Or I could give them the closing, and they can get the down payment assistance to where they want to have to come out of the money and ultimately save that money for some type of business deal. All depends on the structure, which life is business, man. If they come to me with a good plan and show me how's it going to benefit them and work with them, I'm all for it. Because my thing is I want to make it to where I hear a lot of guys in this space. And one of the biggest things, I was on the panel, shout out to Erica Williams. I always watch her. She has good insight and good information.
She
She
is.
was talking about, I believe it was a guy, I want to say her panel, when she was dealing with some guys over here in the ministry talking about with BGS or somebody. And there was a guy came on there and he was saying that, he went to go buy a house and he asked his granddad for like $3,000 because, at the time his dad, I think, was in prison. Didn't even have the $3,000 just for the closing costs on the house. He had the down payment assistance. He was good with that. He just needed the money for the closing costs. He had the money to pay the mortgage each month, and had a girlfriend to where any hiccups that they were doing pretty good, and they were considering on staying together. But the whole point, the house was going to be in his name. Technically speaking, because they wasn't married. But the point of it was, you know, they was only going off of his income, and all they needed was just that. And he couldn't even get the money for the closing costs. So ultimately, he couldn't even buy a house because he was short like what $2,700 on the closing costs.
Damn.
And granddad, I believe, had the money, but just didn't want to give it to him. He was like, this is something that your father supposed to be doing, but technically speaking, he messed up. You know, that was his job to be there for you to give you that type of money.
Mm.
A lot of people go through that situation, and so that's why I said I'm being more proactive about this stuff to where if my sons go through this, I will want them to have the money available ready. By all means, I don't want that to be the stiffing, reason for them not owning or buying a house because of lack of funds. Because for one, with all these programs that are out here, they take advantage of it, and then for two, having an understanding with that. Because I mean, even going conventional, 20% down, that's a lot. But the point of it is, your mortgage drop, is better on the interest rate, all that, especially with your credit. So why why not save that goal for that 20%? I've known people that actually put 20% down on the houses and stuff like that and got great tax breaks and stuff. Well, not tax breaks, but as far as the payment, I mean, just great. They no issues, no worries, man. They went in there with that 20% down. It was almost like they were approved when they came in through the door because on average, how many people have 20% to put down on a house and have the backing showing where it comes from? You know, easy proceeding on the house. Even with a someone who has challenging credit because of credit cards or bad mistakes. If you make the money and you just kind of bad a little bit about budgeting and paying stuff properly, overall that 20% down buying a house makes a big difference.
Huge.
Yep.
And then even, but like the brother was saying though, when you have that 20%, don't worry about paying more over it. You know what I mean? Because once you hit that 20%, like he said, when you start an extra, $10,000 is worth $20 worth of payment. So you put an extra $30,000 to $50,000 up, thinking you're doing something, and it only lowers your monthly payment by $100 a month. It's not really worth it unless you're doing a conventional. But still, don't bring extra money to the table if you don't have to. Now, there are some things that you can do. So some mortgage companies will let you do what's called purchase points. So you can actually purchase your interest rate down. So let's say you get it at, a high interest rate of 6%. You can actually, X amount of dollars will pay down that 6% down to 5%. And then X amount of dollars will pay it from 5% to 4%, and 4% to 3%, 3% to 2%. Obviously, you can't pay it to 0%. But
Yeah.
it
I
can
was gonna say
actually
that
pay
real
them.
quick. Yeah, I'm
Sorry.
sorry to cut you. No, I'm sorry to cut you off. Now I was gonna say that real quick too, and that's what a lot of people don't know that when you have a high interest rate, you can essentially buy your interest rate down. A lot of people going in with a high interest rate, thinking that that's their only option, knowing that you can essentially buy it down. I think with me, I was talking to someone. They were charging me because I originally the loan officer gave me a rate at I think it was 3.8, but when we were going to the table, they were trying to shoot me at 4.8, and I was like, "Whoa, that's a lot." And when I was talking to some agents, they were saying that coming in with that much money higher, the loan officer is gonna make at least $20,000 to $50,000 more off that loan with that. But if you refinance, that's good. But the whole point, they're gonna make more. So when it came down to it, I think it was like only 2,300 to buy it down. And me not knowing $2,300 would made a big difference to where I didn't have to refinance. I can take that rate the way it was, and over time refinance, within the first, year or two or whatever. But the whole point was me not knowing that I could buy my interest rate down. It was a shocking to me when I found that information out. So, the biggest thing is, like I said, doing your research, talking to people, talking to multiple agents, getting an understanding of what the process of what you're dealing with. Like the guy was saying earlier, have a trust relationship with your agent, and that's a beneficial part for you. Seeing that your agent has your best interest, that's always the key. You know, Essentially, just like that we talk about with the police, they work for us. So why not get into that mode to where if someone's working for you, you get the best opportunity, you get the best deals, you get the best overall that fits your needs, not someone else's needs.
Exactly. Everything has to be customized to you. That's why, when shopping for a house, everybody's got to wait for the one that, for example, when I was doing real estate in 2017, and again in New York City, I would take people. I remember I had this one dude who worked at Chase Bank. He was a manager there, and a young dude. He was in his 30s, like 35. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm the branch manager at this Chase in Queens, da 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 da. But I'm looking to buy a house. It was his first time. He was approved for a little over $500,000. He was approved for 650,000. Problem is, in New York City, you can't really find a good house, multifamily, for 650,000. There are parameters with FHA loans. So FHA loans, when you get approved, you'll get approved for X amount for a single family, another amount for a two family, and then an ultimate final amount for a three family. So most people go for all the money they can get, the maximum, which would be a three family. But if you got 650,000, you're not finding a three family in New York City because it ain't gonna be 600. Not anything that's in any good condition. I can show you. I had a two family in East New York that was down to the studs, and they were asking $799.99. So trust me, $650,000 in New York City doesn't go a long way in a three family home. So I had to explain to him and teach him firstly how to get to the two family homes and how we were going to manipulate the loan to still get him to qualify for it. But I had to take this gentleman out every weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So every Saturday and Sunday to three houses each. So every Saturday, three houses, every Sunday, three houses for 3 months straight to find the one. Because it's one thing when people go window shopping for a house. When you're actually approved for the money and you actually have the money, it becomes a completely different story. And then you start to get very persnickety about little things. And, but I had to take this guy out for 3 months straight. I don't know how many houses, but you have to have an agent who's dedicated. Most agents are going to take you to 3 to 5 houses, and then they're going to say, okay, go get the next one. Because we do work on 100% commission, and we don't have time to hold your hand all day, every day. But, there are a lot of agents who are willing to do that. And, my philosophy is activity. If I'm out taking him to see a house every weekend, then I'm not, at least I'm not twiddling my thumbs, not doing something, right? I'm at least having some kind of activity. And that promotes the fact that, other people are shopping for a house too. And I've run into many people who have seen me and him at multiple houses. And, then they're like, wow, let me take your car. So, you're always be closing. Also, let's talk about when you're purchasing a house. So 97%, 98% of the people who purchase a house work with only the seller's agent. And this speaks to, what you were talking about the relationship and the agent being in your best interest. So we have to speak to the types of real estate agents that there are. Okay, because again, there's agents and then there's brokers. And then there's residential agents and residential brokers. And then there's commercial agents and commercial brokers. We're going to talk about the residential side. So what type of agents do you have when you're talking about residential? This isn't somebody who's doing a fix and flip or buying and selling independently selling their house. This is for a licensed person who, if they put you into a lemon situation like she was talking about, there's, penalties and repercussions, right? So there is a listing or seller's agent, which is the person who is representing the person whom is selling the house. And they look out for the best interest of the person who is selling the house, and only the best interest of the person who is selling the house. Then there is a buyer's agent. The buyer's agent represents the person who is buying the house and looks out for the best interest of the person who is buying the house, and only the person who is buying the house. And then there is the broker's agent, which is pretty much one who don't care about either party. He cares about the company most. Now, the 98% of people who work with a real estate agent work with only the listing agent. Now, ironically enough, the listing agent and slash seller's agent and the buyer's agent can work for the same company, but both be against each other. So the seller's agent is 98% of the time what you work with, and they look out for the seller's interest. So let's say you go to buy the house, and the house is listed at $100,000, but there's a lot of people looking at it. And you tell the real estate agent, hey, I'm willing to pay $150,000 for the house, but start the offer at $75,000. The listing agent is going to go to the seller and say, hey, seller, she said he'll pay $150,000 for the house, because he's looking out for the seller. So he doesn't care about the fact that you want to offer $75,000. His job is to get the best, the most reasonable and best offers to his client. So your offer is $150,000, even though you want to start low, and let him talk you up. That's fine. Just know that because I represent the seller, I'm gonna go tell the seller, hey, seller, she's gonna pay willing to pay $150,000. He's offering $150K. So that's the best offer there. Now, the buyer's agent, she comes and works with me as the buyer's agent. Generally, also, the way commission is paid is by the buyer as well. I mean, by the seller, excuse me, not the buyer, but by the seller. So she comes and works with me as a buyer's agent, goes to that same house, it's listed $100,000. He says, listen, I'm willing to pay $150K, but could you start, the offer at $85,000? Well, I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna say, hey, my client said he'll offer $70,000 for this $100,000. And then the seller's agent will bring that reasonable offer to his seller, and they'll say no, and then he'll come back and say, no, he wants the $400,000. They'll say, okay, well, how about $80,000? And then he'll go back. Now, mind you, she told me to start off at $85,000, but I'm looking out for his interest. So I start at $70,000. Is she gonna be mad that I saved him 10 grand if the deal happens? I don't think so. Right? I don't think he'd be quite upset at all. Right? So in that situation, you're working with the buyer's agent. Now, there are situations sometimes where even working with the buyer's agent as the seller, you may have to pay commission, and you should look at your buyer's agreement or seller's listing agreement before you go into a deal. Also, when you're closing on a deal, do not use, unless they're the buyer's agent, do not use the real estate agent's um, um, do not use the realtor's attorney. Well, you can use the realtor's attorney, but you don't use the realtor's inspector. And usually you want to get your own real estate attorney as well, so that they make the conditions as favorable for you as possible versus making the conditions as favorable for the seller as possible. You'll also want to spend $300 to $500 to get a private full home inspection, including termites, before you close on the property. This can be after the offer is accepted, but before you close on the property. Make sure you have your own real estate attorney and make sure you have your own inspector. And you get that private home inspection. And then based on the inspection report, you have your real estate agent and your attorney renegotiate the price. Again, based on the inspection report. If it comes back crystal clear, you don't go back to the negotiation table, take the price and run. But yeah, that's all I got, Chief.
Yeah, that's I want to add this, and I think I'm about to cut out in a minute too. But that was one of the biggest things with buying a house, man. That inspector is the key. I actually dealt with this inspector twice when looking in different houses. Well, more than twice, but just looking at several houses and everything. The key houses I got, and this guy did a phenomenal job. I met him at a conference actually. Came in there, gave us his card, and talked about just being more professional. And this was the funny part. This was at the time when he actually was just starting the company, and he was the only employee. And he came out to the conference and told everybody what he did, and he was just motivated. He showed us how he go on top of roofs, and nowadays, they got the drones where they can take pictures and stuff. But he checked chimney, check the roof, see the process on how good or how bad the roof is. He gave me a notation on what things that need to be inspected to be done on the roof as well. He went into the house as far as what he seen, because he explained to us one time where a person went and got a house, and one side of the house the lights were on. So when you first come in the door, turn on the lights, go in the kitchen, lights on. Opposite side, which was the living room, had so much sunlight, nobody never turned the lights on. They
Mm,
actually didn't get an inspector, and end up the house, sold him the house, had issues, called him. He did an inspection on the house, found out the whole electric on the left side of the house was gone. Like nothing didn't work. All the way
mm,
down, they had to get it rewired all the way down to the breaker box. And you would have found that out with an inspector, because they would have did a test on the outlets. They would have went through the time looking at the light switches, checking it. I mean, just small stuff like that that you're not paying attention to. And even with an inspector, he talked about horror stories about inspectors, the way that they do things. Even on TV, he expressed the different duct works and things that were done, and you can see different piping, different PVC that should have been in there. They were wrong PVC piping. They have was it PCVD and PVC. It's two different piping made structured for strength, and they didn't know that. So in return, pipes were busting off the chain. Wintertime came and didn't know the proceeding because of the pressure on the pipes and everything. A lot of that stuff is more plastic piping now, but the PVC didn't even know. So he was like, "There's certain things that your inspector should know." You know, but if they're qualified, they, like you said, with the termites, with the bugs, stuff like that, they should have that notated on their inspection as well. You might gonna have to get termite inspected on this area, from the outside, from the inside, your steps, if you have a deck, all these proceedings, like those are the beneficial keys that your inspector, he even told us about. He offered this service, but we didn't use it But a lot of people, he did an inspection where he does a thermal test and find out that you're leaking heat in your attic because you know let's say someone built a house and the guys were just going crazy with the nail gun, and you having a third floor, your third floor always cold, never gets hot because they took the nail guns on the roof and were stamping the nails, put a couple of holes in your air ducts up there, so all the air goes into your attic. You never know. With the inspection, you found that stuff out because he had showed us that through a thermal inspection. He had showed where he took a couple of pictures at this house, showed that one part in the attic, one part was in the basement, and the basement was an issue because they didn't have the ducts taped properly. The attic was because of nails in the attic, but nobody would never think to do something like that, you know. And if you don't have the proper person that's working with you, you'll never know these things. So, like I said, it's all about renting and buying, trying to get an understanding. Even with warranties, people don't know about those warranties helping out actually a lot too. But overall, like I said, do the research, talk with several people. With me going to a lot of those home buying seminars, I started meeting great people. They were giving me a lot of advice. So when going into the process on buying a house, I wasn't lacking with a lot of information because I did my research online. I talked to people in person. I called a couple of places. Dealt with agents like Ramon Williams that have your best interest. And that's the thing, going into this process with somebody you work with, it's a wonderful thing because you don't have to second guess certain things. And like I said, go into the proceedings, man. You got to always have an understanding. You do the research yourself. The only person that can help you out better is yourself. And once you make that key for it, then you can move on to having a team to where people surrounding you are having your best interest. And I'm gonna leave off with that. You have any closing remarks, anything, Alonzo, before I close up?
Yeah, man. Thanks again. And when people challenge you, they don't challenge you to challenge you. They challenge you to challenge you to accept the challenge. Salute.
Yep. And I'm gonna drop this with Bob Mark Nash. Shout out to Mark Nash. And oh yeah, everybody who listened to this on the replay as well, even you, Lonzo. If you're into boxing, man, shout out to my guy Ricky Williams, man. R Dubs, man. Shout out to Ricky Williams. I should put
Put this link in the chat.
his channel in the chat. Yeah.
I'm about to go there right now because I'm not. I've been watching some recently. I've been watching some backyard fighting up in Texas. So but these brothers they boxing it out. So yeah, I watch some boxing. Yeah, I love that sport. Yeah. I think he may have had a call come through. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, listen.
Yeah, that
Oh,
thing will hop out on you real quick. But yeah, man, I'm gonna drop his link in the chat, and he's like 30 away from hitting 1,000. A lot of good commentary on boxing. He try to keeps a lot of family and personal stuff off of there because he get too passionate about it, and his wife told him he need to cut it back because he'll go in. He's been on my channel. He kind of rectified and dropped some knowledge on some people, man. That that's in this space that think that a family is not needed. He dropped some knowledge on it, but he lets you know don't go after the wrong, but make sure you pick right, make sure you do right for yourself. Ricky Williams, you can type in on YouTube Ricky Williams with that S 0525. I think that's gonna take you directly to his channel. The Ricky Williams, the football player, is gonna actually keep coming up a lot. That's what I normally have a problem with. But you'll see a blue circle with RW, and that's Ricky Williams, boxing savant. That's Gold Professor. Always shout out. Gold Professor's the guy to give everybody the good names, man. Yeah,
Big
man.
fat. Well,
Yeah.
no
So, like
doubt.
I said,
Appreciate it, man.
yeah. Go ahead.
I'm gonna go ahead and hop off and let you run your thing, brother. Peace out.
All right, peace. Yeah, and I'm about to drop off too. And like I tell people, man, my channel is more of a support channel, man. I, support a lot of channels, especially the ones that give information. Shout out to BGS, the Data Savant. Shout out to Erica Williams, man. Always lacing people with the information, trucking, finance, getting your business together, getting into tech, you know, a lot of things, man. Shout out to a lot of people, underrated, underrated darkness, man. Shout out to him, man, and his channel. He comes with the aspect of family, man, getting everybody together. You gotta be in it to win it. You know. Um, Shout out to a lot of the men that come on these spaces, man, and Bill. Shout out to the women as well. Sheila the Quiet Storm. Raining Woman. Mahogany. Vivian Jennings. The Veterans Lounge. A lot of women come in and support the channels as well, man. Shout out to them. Shout out to the guys that come on too as well. That Kane the guy, that's my boy. Gold P, what I'm saying? Gold Professor, shout out to him. Gold Professor comes with the knowledge, man. I'm always over there with Gold Professor because I keep telling people, the 9 laws of self-government, man. You got to know how to build yourself and to be a productive man, a productive citizen, man. And having those 9 laws of self-government to put your mind frame, and Gold Professor doesn't shy away from you getting structure in your life. We have that constant talk, me and him on a basis, man, of providing myself with the keys in which I want to build and which I want to do for myself. So, like I said, shout out to everybody that come in on the replay. Get some information, food for thought. Um, get it together. Let's go. And like always, we here, we gone.